There is something happening inside a giraffe's neck that most people never hear about. A network of one-way valves built directly into the jugular veins that only exist because without them, this animal would pass out every time it tried to take a drink. That single biological quirk unlocks everything else about why the giraffe is built the way it is. The scale starts with the legs. A giraffe's legs alone measure roughly 6 feet from hoof to hip, before you have even counted the body, neck, and head. The legs alone outmeasure the average adult human, and the rest of the animal towers above. Males reach 18 feet in total. Even a newborn calf, standing for the first time within half an hour of birth, is already around 6.5 feet tall. Keep a brain that far above the ground supplied with blood. A giraffe runs a heart that weighs roughly 25 pounds, about the weight of a car tire, and drives blood at approximately twice the pressure of most large mammals. Every single beat has to push blood nearly straight up through a neck that can stretch more than 7 feet, fighting gravity the entire time. But here is the problem. When a giraffe needs to drink, it has to splay its front legs out wide and lower that entire neck down toward the waterhole. The head drops close to ground level while the heart remains elevated in the chest, and all that high-pressure blood suddenly has gravity working with it instead of against it, rushing toward the brain. Without any adaptation, that could be catastrophic. Those one-way valves are the answer. The jugular veins also have elastic walls that expand to absorb the extra blood volume, while the valves block a dangerous surge from reaching the brain. A system precise enough that the giraffe can raise and lower its head without incident every single day. The same 7 neck vertebrae humans have. Giraffes have them too. But where a human's longest cervical bone is barely 1.5 inches long, a giraffe's equivalent stretches close to 12 inches. Same count. Completely different machine, 0.18 feet tall. A 25-pound heart. One-way valves in the jugular veins. This is not an animal that simply grew large. It is an animal that had to rewire its own biology just to function. Picture a giraffe at sunrise, calm and composed, standing nearly 6 meters above the ground. Now picture that same animal lowering its head to drink from a pool of water. And imagine what happens if its body has no way to manage that sudden shift in pressure. That column of blood in the neck would rush downhill toward the brain, threatening to burst a vessel. And the moment the giraffe lifted its head again, blood would drain away just as fast, cutting off the supply to the brain entirely. A potential blackout just from taking a sip. That is the engineering problem the giraffe's heart had to solve that push blood up through a neck nearly 2 meters long. The giraffe evolved a heart with extraordinarily thick walls, particularly in the left ventricle, the chamber doing all the heavy lifting. The result is blood pressure around 280 over 180 millimeters of mercury, roughly twice that of a healthy human. If a person checked in at a hospital with those numbers, it would be a medical emergency. For a giraffe, that pressure is simply what it takes to stay upright and alive. The heart itself measures about 60 centimeters long, roughly the length of a human arm from elbow to fingertip, and weighs around 11 kilograms, which is about 24 pounds. That is heavier than most house cats, and it beats up to 170 times per minute, double a resting human heart rate, hammering that high-pressure blood upward against gravity with every single pulse. But the heart alone cannot solve the drinking problem. When a giraffe spreads its front legs wide and dips its head down to the waterline, that column of blood in the neck suddenly wants to fall. That is where a network of one-way valves in the neck steps in. These valves act like a series of trapdoors, snapping shut to slow the flow and prevent a dangerous pressure spike to the brain. When the giraffe raises its head again, the valves keep blood moving steadily back upward, maintaining a consistent supply all the way to the top. What looks like a graceful animal calmly bending for a drink is actually a precisely coordinated hydraulic event. Every component, the thick-walled heart, the elevated pressure, the valves, exists because without all of them working together, something as ordinary as a sip of water could be fatal. Here's what most people assume when they picture a giraffe at a waterhole: a graceful giant, long neck curving down to the surface, drinking deeply after a long hot day. That image is almost entirely wrong, and the reality is far stranger. The detail that catches most people off guard: giraffes barely need to drink at all, because they spend their days browsing on leaves, particularly the moisture-rich foliage of acacia trees. They pull most of the water their bodies need straight from their food. While you or I would be in serious trouble after a day or two without water, a giraffe can go several days between drinks. Researchers who have studied this closely have found that giraffes feeding on the right trees may not need to visit a waterhole at all, which raises the obvious question: if drinking is optional, why does it matter when they do it? Because every time a giraffe drinks, it faces one of the most dangerous moments of its life. Here is the problem most people never think about. A giraffe's neck is too short to reach the ground while it stands upright. To get its mouth down to the water's surface, it has to splay its front legs wide apart, dropping into a deeply awkward crouch. Getting into position takes several seconds. Standing back up and running takes several more. For a predator, that is an invitation. Lions know it. A giraffe locked in that splayed stance, head low, attention on the water, is about as exposed as this animal ever gets. To manage the risk, giraffes rarely drink alone. They approach waterholes in groups, taking turns while the others stand watch. Even then, they often spend time circling the area first, surveying every direction before committing to that vulnerable position. And there is one more remarkable thing happening in the moment a giraffe lowers its head. All that blood pressure, nearly double a human's because the heart has to push blood all the way up that long neck, now has gravity pulling it downhill toward the brain. A network of tiny blood vessels near the skull, sometimes called the marvelous net, acts as a pressure buffer, absorbing the surge and protecting the delicate vessels in the brain and eyes from being overwhelmed. An animal that drinks as rarely as possible, in groups with lookouts posted, and still has to gamble on every single sip. Here's a misconception most people carry without ever questioning it: that a giraffe fighting through a tangle of thorns must pay for every meal and pain. It seems reasonable. Acacia trees, the giraffe's favorite food, are armed like barbed wire. And yet giraffes spend hours a day working through them without a second thought. The reason comes down to one extraordinary piece of anatomy: the tongue. Take the color first because it catches people off guard. A giraffe's tongue is not pink. It is a deep bluish black, close to the color of a bruise. This is not random. A giraffe can spend most of its waking hours with its tongue extended, reaching between branches under the full force of an African sun. That dark pigment is built-in sunscreen, nature's solution to the problem of an organ that practically lives outdoors. And then there's the size. At roughly 45 centimeters, about 18 inches, the giraffe tongue is nearly twice the length of a human forearm. But raw length barely scratches the surface of what it can do. The tongue is densely packed with muscle, giving it precise, independent control much like a hand. That quality has a name: prehensile, the same property that lets an opossum hang from its tail. A giraffe wraps that tongue around a single cluster of leaves, navigates carefully around the thorns beside it, and strips the branch clean. It is less like eating and more like picking. Now here is where thorns stop being a problem at all. The giraffe produces an unusually thick, sticky saliva, almost glue-like in texture. Any thorn that makes contact gets immediately coated and slides harmlessly down the throat. The inside of the mouth adds a further layer of defense. Hard, finger-like structures called papillae line the tongue, lips, and mouth, creating a surface tough enough that thorns can barely register. The saliva also carries antiseptic properties, so any minor puncture heals quickly rather than becoming a problem. The result is an animal that eats around 34 kilograms, roughly 75 pounds, of leaves in a single day, including some of the most heavily defended vegetation on the savanna. It does not avoid the thorns. It has simply engineered them into irrelevance. The tongue is not just long or dark or strong. It is an entire system built down to the chemistry of its own spit for one specific purpose: eating what nothing else can reach. Most people assume that the bigger the animal, the more sleep it needs. Many large mammals sleep for hours at a stretch, sometimes most of the day. So what about the tallest land animal on Earth? A creature that has to push blood all the way up one of the longest necks in nature just to keep its brain alive? You'd expect it to need serious recovery time, but the giraffe gets by on just 30 minutes of sleep a night. Not 30 minutes of interrupted rest. 30 minutes total, scattered across an entire night in the wild. And those 30 minutes aren't taken all at once. Giraffes catch sleep in brief snatches while standing upright, heads dipped only slightly, never fully off guard. Going completely horizontal on the open savanna is a serious vulnerability. At that height, with that much neck to manage, getting back to its feet quickly is far from simple. So the giraffe has evolved to rest without ever truly switching off, always one ear tuned to whatever might be moving nearby. Even birth happens standing up. A mother giraffe delivers her calf on her feet, which means a newborn's very first experience of the world is a drop of more than 5 feet, over 1.5 meters of free fall before it has even drawn its first breath. That fall isn't the remarkable part. What's remarkable is what comes next, within hours of landing. That calf is already on its feet and running. Life on the savanna does not stop for a gentle introduction. None of this is possible without extraordinary engineering underneath. Inside a giraffe's chest sits a heart that weighs approximately 11 kilograms, the largest heart of any land mammal alive. Every single minute, it forces around 60 liters of blood around the body at a pressure roughly twice that of a human. That sustained force is what it takes to push circulation all the way up that neck and keep the brain properly supplied while the animal stands at its full height, which can reach 5 meters and sometimes well beyond 0.30 minutes of sleep a night. A heart running at twice human blood pressure and still capable of reaching 35 miles per hour when danger appears on the horizon. The world's tallest animal is also one of the most extreme endurance machines nature has ever assembled. One moment, 2 giraffes are standing side by side, almost peaceful, like sculptures against an African sky. The next, one swings its neck in a wide, sweeping arc, and the crack of impact carries across the savanna like a gunshot. That is necking, and it is nothing like the name suggests. Male giraffes do not growl, roar, or charge to settle dominance. They wield their necks, which can weigh over 500 pounds, like living wrecking balls. A bull will plant his front legs wide apart for balance, pull back, and then unload a full swing directly into his rival's body. Neck, chest, ribs. The target almost doesn't matter. What matters is the force. Scientists have estimated that the impact from a single blow can exceed 2,000 pounds, roughly equivalent to being struck by a small car. Here is the wild part. A giraffe's neck contains just 7 vertebrae, the same number as a human neck, but each one is dramatically larger and more heavily muscled. That neck, for all its elegance, is essentially a biological battering ram. Younger males practice a gentler version of this, leaning against each other and trading light contact, learning the mechanics. But high-intensity necking between adult bulls is something else entirely. They trade full-power shots, dodge, counter, and reset until one finally concedes and walks away. In rare cases, the damage is severe enough to kill. Here is where it gets genuinely strange. The bony protrusions on top of a giraffe's head, called ossicones, are not decoration. They are weapons. Male ossicones grow larger and denser than those of females, and they serve double duty as both weapons and armor. The same structure that delivers a blow is also built to absorb one dot, and all of this serves one purpose: reproductive access. Males that win these contests can drive off rivals and earn far greater breeding success. The neck is not simply how a giraffe reaches a tree branch. For a bull, it is the single most important thing he has. There is something almost absurd about it. This impossibly graceful creature, built like a piece of living architecture, settling its disputes with the biological equivalent of a sledgehammer. But the savanna does not reward the meek, and the giraffe, it turns out, is nowhere near as gentle as it looks. 35 miles per hour. That's the top recorded speed of an animal that looks like it should tip over just walking in a strong wind. But what makes that number truly strange isn't the speed itself. It's how a giraffe actually achieves it. Most four-legged animals run by alternating legs in a diagonal pattern. Left front with right back, right front with left back. Not giraffes. They pace. Both legs on the right side move forward together, then both on the left. It's the same unusual gait used by camels and elephants. And on something the size of a giraffe, it looks almost hypnotic. This enormous creature gliding across the open savanna in long, sweeping arcs. Each stride covers up to 15 feet of ground. Even a casual walk moves a giraffe along at 10 miles per hour. At a full sprint, it's swallowing the length of a small car with every single step. Put those strides together at top speed, and you get an animal that can outpace even many horses over short distances. Think about what that actually means. Something standing up to 18 feet tall, with legs alone measuring roughly 6 feet from hoof to hip, pulling ahead at full gallop. Those legs aren't decorative. They end in hard, sharp, 12-inch hooves and work like enormous biological springs, storing and releasing energy with each stride. When a giraffe decides to run, it covers ground in a way that simply doesn't match anything about how it looks standing still. Now here's where the story takes a completely unexpected turn. For years, giraffes were considered essentially mute. Researchers observing them in the field reported almost no vocalizations. The belief became standard. The tallest animal on Earth made no sounds. Silence was assumed to be simply part of their nature. Then in 2015, a study picked up something that all that daytime field work had consistently missed. After dark, giraffes hum. Not loudly. It's a low, gentle, almost private sound. Researchers who kept their recording equipment running through the night detected a steady hum that giraffes appear to use to communicate with each other in the dark. The sound is subtle enough that years of observation in daylight hours never caught it all. Nobody heard it because nobody was listening at the right time, fast enough to outrun a horse, quiet enough that scientists spent years never knowing they were speaking to each other in the dark. The giraffe turns out to be one of the most misread animals on the planet. Imagine standing on the edge of the Nigerian savanna, squinting into the heat haze and counting. Just counting. You have traveled to one of the last places on Earth where a particular subspecies still survives, the West African giraffe. And after all that searching, you find around 600 of them. Not 6,000, not 60,000. 600 animals, scattered across a single region of Niger, walking in and around human communities because there is no national park left to hold them. That is the entire wild population of that lineage. And the thing that stops researchers cold is that almost nobody knows. Giraffes are everywhere in our imagination. In zoos, on safari footage, on the walls of children's bedrooms. That visibility is exactly what makes their disappearance so easy to miss. We see them and assume they are fine. They are not. Over the last 30 years, Africa's total giraffe population has dropped by roughly 30%. In East Africa alone, numbers have fallen by more than 50% in 3 decades. Across Central Africa, the collapse has been even more severe. Populations there have declined by more than 95%, gutted by a combination of habitat loss, poaching, and the chaos of armed conflict. Stephanie Fennessy, an environmental engineer, and Julian Fennessy, a biologist, spent years tracking these animals when few others were paying attention, and they gave this crisis its name, a silent extinction. Because unlike elephants or lions, species that command global headlines and major conservation funding, giraffes have largely been a forgotten animal. The numbers make that silence hard to justify. Roughly 111,000 giraffes remain across all of Africa. More than 1 million once roamed the continent, from the lush banks of the Nile to the mountainous deserts of Namibia. As their range has shrunk, isolated groups can no longer find each other to breed, quietly draining the genetic diversity the species needs to survive. To push back against that silence, the Giraffe Conservation Foundation launched the first ever World Giraffe Day on June 21st, 2014, deliberately choosing the longest day of the year to honor the tallest animal on Earth. One day a year is a start, but awareness is what keeps it going. If you want to keep discovering the most remarkable animals on the planet, subscribe. There is so much more waiting for you.